All right, so you think you have what it takes to be a private investigator, huh? Well, today we're diving deep into the world of PIs, ditching the Hollywood drama, and uncovering what it really takes to make it in this line of work.
We've got an awesome source for this deep dive, a seasoned PI who's giving us the unfiltered truth about the profession, the good, the bad, and everything in between.
Exactly. It's called So You Want to Be a Private Investigator, and it doesn't pull any punches. It's like having this experienced PI right here with us, ready to spill all the secrets. But before we get into the exciting stuff, like tailing suspects and cracking cases, we got to talk about something you might not expect: licensing.
Yeah, you can't just slap on a trench coat and call yourself a PI, you know. Our source is very clear about the fact that almost every state has, like, a licensing board just for private investigators, kind of like what you see with lawyers or doctors.
So no going rogue then. What's the deal with these licensing boards?
Well, they're the gatekeepers. They set the standards, making sure aspiring PIs have the right qualifications, and holding them accountable, ethically speaking.
Makes sense. You got to keep things by the book in this line of work, right?
Right.
What kind of hoops do you have to jump through to get licensed?
Get ready for this. Our source says in Arizona, it's a minimum of 3 years, 6,000 hours of experience working under another licensed PI before you can even think about applying.
Wow, 3 years. That's serious commitment.
Oh, yeah, and that's not even factoring in the Arizona heat. They talked about some brutal days doing surveillance, but yeah, 3 years minimum.
So even if you've got experience, say, in law enforcement or investigations for a law firm, you still need to put in the time.
It's not always that straightforward. Our source explained that even if you have prior experience, you might not need the full 3-year apprenticeship, but you still got to prove yourself to the board. They're the ones who ultimately decide if you're ready to be a PI.
So you've wowed the board, you've got your license. Are you good to go?
Oh, that's just the first step. Our source really emphasizes that learning never stops. This field is always changing, so you got to keep up. They even said that a lot of their success came from being ahead of the game, especially when it comes to technology.
Oh, that's interesting. What kind of tech skills do you need to be a successful PI? I'm guessing it's a little more complicated than just knowing how to use a magnifying glass these days.
You would be surprised.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Spill the beans. What's the tech angle on all of this?
Well, obviously, traditional investigative skills are still important, but get this, our source was really big on search engine optimization. You know, SEO.
Okay, hold on. SEO for a PI. Now I got to hear more about that.
It's all about visibility, right? People go online for everything these days. Why not finding a PI too? And this PI, they were ahead of the curve, saw the internet for what it was, a powerful tool.
So did they hire someone to, like, build a website for them, or?
Nope, they taught themselves. Learned how to build websites, how to optimize them for search engines. Pretty impressive, huh?
Seriously. So it's more than just having a website. You got to know how to make sure people actually find it.
Exactly. They were targeting specific search terms like private investigator, you know, stuff like that. So when someone in their area needed a PI, bam, they were right there at the top of the search results.
Genius. So simple, yet so effective. But, okay, SEO is one thing, but you still need the actual investigative skills, right? Being able to dig up information, talk to people, connect the dots.
Oh, absolutely. They were big on that too, especially the interviewing part. Our source talked about how crucial it is to get people to open up, read their body language, catch those little inconsistencies in their stories.
Yeah, that instinct for knowing when someone's not telling the whole story.
Exactly. You can't teach that. It comes from experience, from really understanding human behavior. But you know what else surprised me? They stressed the importance of understanding the legal system.
Right, you don't want to be out there crossing lines while gathering evidence. How much legal knowledge are we talking about here?
It's not just about avoiding trouble, it's about understanding the cases themselves. A lot of investigations are tied to legal matters, like gathering evidence for civil cases or knowing how to work within the rules of surveillance.
So you got to be able to speak the language of the law, basically.
Exactly. Our source said that's what allowed them to take on bigger, more complex cases. Cases that paid more, obviously.
Makes sense. The more you know, the more valuable you are. It's clear this line of work, it's demanding on so many levels. Intellectually, ethically, even emotionally, I imagine.
That's one of the things I really appreciated about this source, their honesty. They admitted that it's not all car chases and stakeouts, you know?
So, spill it. What's the not-so-glamorous side of being a PI?
Well, they were pretty open about the ethical dilemmas they faced. Times they had to say no to cases, even if it meant losing money.
Really? Why turn down a paying client?
Because sometimes what people want you to do it crosses a line. Like, they mentioned clients who wanted them to dig up dirt on someone illegally, or they had these crazy expectations about what was even possible legally.
Wow, so you got to have a strong moral compass in this line of work.
Absolutely. They were adamant about building a reputation on integrity, and you know what? It paid off.
Yeah, in the long run, that's what matters. But let's be real, integrity doesn't always pay the bills.
Yeah.
So how did this PI manage financially? Were they scraping by or did they actually thrive?
Oh, they were doing all right. But it wasn't by accident, let me tell you. They were very upfront about the fact that the average PI salary, it's not great.
So how'd they escape the average salary trap? What was their secret?
Well, they were smart, like really smart about the whole thing.
Okay, so spill the tea. What was their strategy?
Remember how we talked about SEO, being ahead of the game on the internet?
Yeah, they were practically tech gurus.
Well, that wasn't all. They also realized how important online reviews were. So they made a point of getting testimonials from every client they could.
Smart. Everyone checks reviews these days, especially for something like a PI, right?
Exactly. And they didn't just meet expectations, they went above and beyond. Kept their clients in the loop, made sure they were happy with the service.
Good reviews, any word-of-mouth referrals. What more could you ask for?
Seriously.
Yeah.
But it wasn't just about marketing. They were also good at what they did. Really good.
They had to be, with all the competition out there, right? Do they, like, specialize in anything? Any particular niche?
They handled a lot of different cases, infidelity, background checks, you name it. But they really found their groove with fraud investigations. Got a reputation for being meticulous, really good at unraveling those complex financial schemes.
Sounds like they found the recipe for success. Hard work, knowing your stuff, and staying ahead of the curve.
Exactly. This PI's story, it proves you don't need to be some Hollywood cliche to make it in this field. It's about being resourceful, having a good head on your shoulders, and never being afraid to learn something new.
So, to wrap things up, today's deep dive taught us a ton about the reality of being a PI. Forget the glamour, it's about hard work, dedication, and a strong moral compass.
Not to mention a knack for SEO.
Right, who knew?
Yeah.
But it makes sense, the world is online now, even for PIs. And remember, our deep dive doesn't end here. Our source mentioned professional organizations for PIs, which makes me wonder, are these groups really beneficial, like they claim to be? Offering resources, support, that kind of thing.
Or are they just about appearances, maintaining a certain image?
Exactly. Something to think about, right? So listeners, we're leaving you with a question this time. Do some digging, see what you can find out about these professional PI organizations. Are they the real deal, or just smoke and mirrors?
Your next deep dive awaits.